All right, we're gonna continue on with the Goosebumps. Welcome to the Dead House. Chapter 4. Wipe your feet. Don't track mud on the nice clean floors. Mom called. Her voice echoed against the bare walls of the empty house. Oh, and by the way, I am kind of a little sick, so excuse me if my voice sounds a little strainy or anything like that. I'm gonna do my best trying to read and go over the book as much as I possibly can. I stepped into the hallway. The house smelled of paint. The painters had just finished on Thursday. It was hot in the house, much hotter than outside. Of course, it's gonna be hotter. Usually, it's gonna be hotter inside unless you have AC running. This kitchen light won't go on, Dad called from the back. Did the painters turn off the electricity or something? How should I know? Mom shouted back. Mom, there's someone upstairs, I cried, wiping my feet on the new welcome mat and hurrying into the living room. She was at the window staring out at the rain, looking for the movers probably. She spun around as I came in. What? There's a boy upstairs. I saw him in the window. I saw him in the window, I said, struggling to catch my breath. Josh entered the room from the back hallway. He'd probably been with Dad. He laughed. Is someone already living here? There's no one upstairs, Mom said, rolling her eyes. Are you two going to give me a break today or what? What did I do? Josh whined. Listen, Amanda, we're all a little on edge today, Mom started, but I interrupted her. I saw his face, Mom, in the window. I'm not crazy, you know. Says who? Josh cracked. Amanda, Mom bit her lower lip, the way she always did when she was really exasperated. You saw a reflection of something. Of a tree, probably. She turned back to the window. The rain was coming down in the sheets now, the wind driving it noisily against the large picture window. I ran to the stairway, cupped my hands over my mouth, shouted up to the second floor. Who's up there? No answer. Who's up there? I called a little louder. Mom had her hands over her ears. Amanda, please. Josh had disappeared through the dining room. He was finally exploring the house. There's someone up there, I insisted, and impulsively I started up the wooden stairway, my sneakers thudding loudly on the bare steps. Amanda! I heard Mom call after me, but I was too angry to stop. Why didn't she believe me? Why did she have to say it was a reflection of a tree I saw up there? I was curious. I had to know who was upstairs. I had to prove Mom wrong. I had to show her I hadn't been seeing the stupid reflection. I guess I can be pretty stubborn too. Maybe it's a family trait. The stairs squeaked and creaked under me as I climbed. I didn't feel at all scared until I reached the second floor landing. Then I suddenly had this heavy feeling in my pit of my stomach. I stopped breathing hard, leaning on the banister. Who could it be? A burglar? A bored neighborhood kid who had broken into an empty house of a thrill? Maybe I shouldn't be up here alone, I realized. Maybe the boy in the window was dangerous. Anybody up there? I called, my voice suddenly trembly and weak. Still leaning against the banister, I listened, and I could hear footsteps scampering across the hallway. No, not footprints. The rain. That's what it was. The pattern of rain against the slate shingle roof. For some reason, the sound made me feel a little calmer. I let go of the banister and stepped into the long, narrow hallway. It was dark up here, except for a rectangle of gray light from a small window on the other end. I took a few steps from the old wooden floorboards, creaking noisily beneath me. Anybody up here? And again, no answer. I stepped to the first doorway on my left. The door was closed. The smell of breath paint was suffocating. There was a light switch on the wall near the door. Maybe it was in the hall lights, I thought. I flicked it on, but nothing happened. Anybody here? My hand was trembling as I grabbed the doorknob. It felt warm in my hand and damp. I turned it and looked, taking a deep breath, pushed open the door. I peered into the room. Gray light filtered in through the bay window. A flash of lightning made me jump back. And thunder that followed was a dull, distant roar. Slowly, carefully, I took a step in the room, then another. No sign of anyone. This was the guest bedroom, or it could be Josh's room if we decided he liked it. Another flash of lightning. The sky seemed to be darkening. It was pitch black out there, even though it was just after lunchtime. I backed into the hall. The next room down was going to be mine. I also had a bay window that looked down on the front yard. Was the boy I saw staring down at me in my room? I crept down the hall, letting my hand run along the wall for some reason, and stopped outside my door, which was also closed. Taking a deep breath, I knocked on the door. "Who's in there?" I called. I listened. Silence. Then clap of thunder. Closer than the last. I froze as I was paralyzed, holding my breath. I was so hot up here, hot and damp, and the smell of paint was making me dizzy. I grabbed the doorknob. "Anybody in there?" I tried to turn the knob, and the boy crept up from behind me and grabbed my shoulder. So there was a boy up there. The I mean, uh, makes sense that parents wouldn't believe her because a teenager makes up stories all the time, and when you're scared, you see things. But since there actually was a boy up there, you know, I basically know from the show that there was some out there. But all right, go on to the next chapter, chapter 5. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't cry out. My heart seemed to stop. My chest felt as if it were to explode. With a desperate, terrified effort, I spun around. "Josh!" I shrieked. "You scared me to death," I thought. He let me go and took a step back. "Gotcha!" he declared, and then started to laugh. High-pitched laugh that echoed down the hallway. So it was not just another boy. I think was it Josh? Yeah, Josh was one of his characters. Okay. He laughed and rolled around on the floor. He's a real sicko. I tried to shove him again, but missed. Angrily, I turned from him, just in time to see my bedroom door slowly swinging open. I gasped in disbelief and froze, gaping at the moving door. Josh stopped laughing and stood up, immediately serious, his dark eyes wide with fright. I hear some movement inside the room. I hear whispering. Excited giggles. "Who who's there?" I managed to stammer in a high little voice I didn't recognize. The door creaking loudly, opened a bit more, then started to close. "Who's there?" I demanded, a bit more forcefully. Give me a second. Again, I could hear whispering, someone moving about. Josh had backed up against the wall and was edging away, toward the stairs. He had an expression on his face I had never seen before, sheer terror. The door, creaking like a door in a moving haunted house, closed a little bit more. Josh was nearly to the door stairway. He was staring at me, finally motioning me with his hand for me to follow. But instead, I stepped forward and grabbed the doorknob and pushed the door open hard. It didn't resist. I let go of the doorknob and stood blocking the doorway. "Who's there?" The room was empty. Thunder crashed. It took me a few seconds to realize what was making the door move. The window on the opposite wall had been left open several inches. The gusting wind through the open window must have been open and closing the door. I guess that's can it. I guess that also explains the other sounds I heard inside the room. Sounds I thought were whispers. Who had left the window open? The painters? Probably. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly, waiting for my pounding heart to settle down to normal. Feeling a little foolish, I walked quickly to the window and pushed it shut. Amanda, are you all right? Josh whispered from the hallway. I started to answer him, but then I had a better idea. He had practically scared me to death a few minutes before. Why not give him a little scare? He deserved it. So I didn't answer him. I could hear him take a few steps closer to my room. Amanda, Amanda, you okay? I tiptoed over to my closet, pulled the door open a third of the way. Then I lay down on the floor, on my back, with my head and shoulders hidden inside the closet, and the rest of me out in the room. Amanda! Josh sounded very scared. Oh, I moaned loudly. I know when he saw me sprawled on the floor like this, he totally freaked out. Amanda, what's happening? He was in the doorway now. He's, he'd seen me any second now. I'm in a dark room, my head hidden from you, the lightning flashing impressively and the thunder crackling outside the old window. I took a deep breath and held it to keep it from giggling. Amanda, he whispered. Then he must have seen me because he uttered a loud, huh? And I heard him gasp. Then he screamed at the top of his lungs. I heard him running down at the hall to the stairway, shrieking, Mom! Dad! All I heard his sneakers thudding down the wooden stairs, with him screaming and calling all the way down. I snickered to myself. Then, before I could pull myself up, I felt a rough, warm tongue licking my face. Petey? He was licking my cheeks, licking my eyeballs, licking me frantically, as if he were trying to revive me, as if to let me know that everyone was okay. Oh, Petey! Petey! I cried, laughing and throwing my arms around the sweet dog. Stop! You're getting me all sticky! But he wouldn't stop. He kept on licking fiercely. Poor dog is nervous too, I thought. Come on, Petey, shape up! I told him, his panting face away with both, holding his panting face away with both hands. There's nothing to be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about. This new place is gonna be fun. You'll see. Drink. All right. Go to chapter 6. That night, I was smiling to myself as I fluffed up my pillow and slid into bed. I was thinking about how terrified Josh had been that afternoon, how frightened he looked, even after I came prancing down the stairs, perfectly okay, how angry he was that I'd fooled him. Of course, Mom and Dad didn't think it was funny. They were both nervous and upset because the moving van had just arrived an hour late. They forced Josh and me to a truce, no more scaring each other. It's hard not to get scared in this creepy old place, Josh muttered, but we reluctantly agreed not to play any more jokes on each other, if we could possibly help it. The men complaining about the rain started carrying all our furniture. Josh and I helped show them where we wanted stuff in our rooms. They dropped my dresser on the stairs, but it only got a small scratch. The furniture looked strange and small in the big house. Josh and I tried to stay out of the way while Mom and Dad worked all day, arranging things, emptying cartons, putting clothes away. Mom even managed to get the curtains hung in my room. What a day! Now a little after 10 o'clock, trying to get to sleep for the first time in my new room, I turned into my side, then into my back. Even though this was my old bed, I couldn't get comfortable. Everything seemed so different, so wrong. The bed didn't face the same direction as in my old bedroom. The walls were bare. I hadn't even had time to hang any of my posters. The room seemed so large and empty. The shadows seemed so much darker. My back started to itch, then I suddenly felt itchy all over. The bed is filled with bugs. I thought of sitting up, but of course that was ridiculous. It was my same old bed with clean sheets. I forced myself to settle back down and close my eyes. Sometimes, when I can't get to sleep, I count silently by twos, picturing each number in my mind as I think it. It usually helps me clear my mind so that I can drift to sleep. I tried it now, burying my face in the pillow, picturing a number going past. 4, 6, 8. I yawned loudly, still wide awake at 2:20. I'm awake. I'm going to be awake forever, I thought. I'm never going to be able to sleep in this new room. But then, I must have drifted off without realizing it. I don't know how long I slept. An hour or two at the most. It was a light, comfortable sleep. Then something woke me. I sat up startled. Despite the heat of the room, I felt cold all over. Looking down at the end of the bed, I saw that I had kicked off the sheet and night blanket. With a groan, I reached down and for them, but then froze. I heard whispers. Someone was whispering across the room. "Who, who's there?" My voice was a whisper, too tiny and frightened. I grabbed my covers and pulled them up to the chin. I heard more whispers. The room came into focus as my eyes adjusted to the dim lights. The curtains, the long sheer curtains from all my old room that my mother had hung the afternoon, were fluttering at the window. So that explained the whispers. The billowing curtains must have woken me up. A soft gray light floated in from the outside. The curtains was casting was the curtains cast moving shadows onto the foot of the bed. Yawning, I stretched and climbed out of bed. I felt chilled all over as I crept across the wooden floor to close the window. As it came near, the curtains stopped bellowing and folded back into place. I pushed them aside and reached out to close the door. "Oh!" I uttered a soft cry when I realized the window was closed. But how could the curtains flutter like that if the window's closed? I stood there for a while, staring at the grays of the light. There wasn't much of a draft. The window seemed pretty airtight. Had I imagined the curtains billowing? Were my eyes playing tricks on me? Yawning, I hurried back from through the strange shadows to my bed and pulled the covers up as high as they could go. "Amanda, stop scaring yourself," I scolded. I scolded. When I fell back to sleep a few minutes later, I had the ugliest, most terrifying dream. I dreamed that we were all dead. Mom, Dad, Josh, and me. At first I saw us sitting around the dinner table in the dining room. The room was very bright, so bright I couldn't see our faces very well. It was just a bright white blur. But then, slowly, everything came to focus, and I could see that beneath our hair we had no faces. Our skin was gone, and our gray-green skulls were left, and only our gray-green skulls were left. Bits of flesh clung to my bony cheeks. There were only deep, black sockets where my eyes had been. The four of us, all dead, and eating in silence. Our dinner plates I saw were filled with small bones. A big platter in the center of the table was piled high with green-gray bones, human-looking bones. And then in this dream, our disgusting meal was interrupted by a loud knocking at the door, on the door, and assistants pounding that grew louder and louder. It was Kathy, my friend from back home. I could see her at the front door, pounding on it with both hands. I wanted to go answer the door. Wanted to run from the dining room and pull open the door and greet Kathy. I wanted to talk to Kathy. I wanted to tell her that had happened to me, what had happened to me, to explain that I was dead and had my face had and that my face had fallen away. I wanted to see Kathy so badly, but I couldn't get up from the table. I tried and tried, but I couldn't get up. The pounding on the door grew louder and louder until it was deafening. But I just sat there with my gruesome family, picking up bones from the dinner plates and eating them. I woke up with a start. The, the horror of the dream was still with me. I could still hear the pounding in my ears. I shook it off, trying to chase the dream away. It was morning. I could tell from the blue of the sky outside the window. Oh no! The curtains. They were billowing again, flapping noisily as they blew into the room. I sat up and stared. The window was still closed. God, having that nightmares. Oof. You're dead and your best friend comes to the door and you can't do nothing about it. Ugh.